Had one zucchini. We left it in the sun a day in that hot sun, and this is what happened. We have a new frog friend. Maybe it didn't go. Oh my gosh, I'm having a sick morning. I said again. As the moon and stars pattern. Hey, I'm Coral. This is Coral Gardens. We're going to take a look around the August garden, see everything we got growing. It's been a long, hot summer, not as hot as last year, thank goodness, because it's crazy here in the high desert. I'm growing in zone 8A, 7B. We do get a pretty solid frost. We often get a snow that sticks. And then we have a good amount of high desert heat in the middle of summer. So interesting conditions to work through. Let me know if you have tips on growing there, and let's see what we got going. Okay, so we're gonna try and shoot a little bit of a golden hour garden tour tonight. Tonight is August 7th, maybe, I think. And the sun is just about to set over there. We don't get a ton of a sunset here because of the houses and the trees, but we get, you know, the overall colors. And the sky's got a lot of clouds tonight. We usually really don't have a ton, so it might be a pretty sunset. So we'll look at that too if it comes and looks pretty. Yesterday I had a crazy day. I had a bee that got sprayed when I was out watering in the morning, which I've been trying to avoid doing for that very reason. And it was what I thought was completely dead, like motionless. And then I picked it up and was kind of like, I'm sorry, buddy. And I went and picked it up on a leaf, set it on the table, finished my watering, and came back and it appeared dead. And then I was like, you know, thinking of putting it somewhere, and I was saying sorry to it, and it started wiggling its legs, and it kept wiggling different legs and kind of reanimating. And so I got it some sugar water, which I found on the internet, and it perked back up. At one point though, it got trying to fly and getting like a little agitated in the beginning, flipped itself over into the sugar water, a little droplet of it that had fallen, and got its wings stuck together. So I spent the entire day out here trying to unstick its wings with Q-tips with water on them, and trying to wait for it to try and clean itself. And anytime I would not hold it on my chest or in my hand or let it run on me, it was freak out. This is my new best friend, Barnaby. I put it in here briefly to run in and go to the bathroom, and it was like buzzing and freaking out on the side. Anyway, eventually, after a lot of hours, like more than I'd like to admit as a sane person, as what I thought was a sane person, but I just felt so invested because I'm like, this little thing's crawling all over me. It's like scared when I don't have it. I did this. I don't want to give up on her. So eventually she had flown like 2 other times a really short distance. The wings that were stuck together were on the same side. And so I think directionally she was struggling. And then at one point flew off me where I'm sitting here, went under the table to a chair down there. And when I got and I saw her and went to go pick her up, which I'd done before, and she's climbed right back on my finger. By the time I got over there, she was gone. So she flew away. I hope to complete wellness and back to her hive to continue to pollinate and make honey and all that stuff. I'm such a big softie. But anyway, I'll try not to talk like incessantly about her, but it was really cute. Anyway, so that was why that was there. I was like, wait a minute, that looks like a little kid's random project. I was trying to give her different flowers. She didn't want anything after the sugar water. These are flowers, little bouquets I made that were on the table for, they're still looking really good, on the table for our little garden group. Had their meeting over here. I had mums, which I never knew I liked, but am now kind of deciding are my favorite. And then a bunch of extra baby breath. I just flew it. I think that's baby's breath. I'm not positive. Just threw it in the middle there. It's a little windy out and the sun is setting. I thought it would be nice to shoot a golden hour vlog for once. So hopefully oh wow, sunset's actually pretty. I started trying to film this last night and had some loss of light and decided to come out and do it today. These flowers are still holding up beautifully from our garden club meeting. just little cheapy Vaughn's flowers. I actually have a microphone this morning for the first time. Just a little fluffy guy. I finally caved and got a cheapy one. And hopefully it'll help uh, filter out some of the sounds of me shuffling my feet walking around and some of the wind noises and outside noises. Anyway, I think I got a pretty good look at these, but we'll do it one more time. Just a little okra here. Moringa tree with a little cilantro on the outside. Our zinnias, I deadheaded several of them. That one really needs to be, and they're about to bloom again. The Tulsi Holy Basil is hanging in there. That's a little volunteer that I just let grow because the bees and pollinators love it. These are carrots. Well, this is an okra that has bad. Oh, I don't know if that was a frog or a. I think that was a frog. Oh, it is. Hi, baby. Hi, little frog friend. You have a new frog friend. Hi, baby. I don't get you. I'm your buddy. Thanks for being in our garden. I'm such a goober. Okay, I don't want to scare him. I was like, that had to be bigger than a grasshopper, but that's a pretty small frog. So here are carrots that I had planted before the okra. And even though this okra looks bad, it's getting better. But when you see leaves curled like this, aphids and ants. So these have tiny, tiny ants in them forming the aphids. And these leaves are curled because the life is being sucked out of them by these aphids. And I uncurled them and wiped them off the other day, but I think I need to stay on top of it more. Some of these leaves that are curled will not uncurl. Doesn't look like there's too many. It was filled last time. So anyway, there's a little random celery that I have no idea how that got there in with the carrots. That's kind of fun. We've never had celery go to seed here, so it's definitely not from my seed, except for that it could have, a celery seed is tiny and could have somehow gotten in with the carrots when I was planting at a different time. There's a little moringa that was in the cup too long and tried to die. It keeps making comebacks. They're strong little plants. And then here's our herbs. We have culinary basil, we have parsley, we have cilantro, we have opal basil. I think there's a Tulsi basil, yeah, right there. There's a Thai basil here that's flowering. And then we have our dill that's gone to seed and our chives that are flowering, which does not affect the flavor of the chives. They can occasionally do that. We'll look at the waffle garden beds. The little cantaloupe do not seem to fare as well in this heat as the watermelons do. If you're ever trying to decide, I don't like cantaloupe, so it doesn't bother me a ton, but my son does, and I'd like to have a few to sell at farmer's market. Look at that corn stalk has 3 cobs. Somebody was saying the other day that they usually have 1 or 2. That's kind of cool though. He's probably the tallest guy we have. But the corn's doing pretty well. We've pulled a few cobs off of them already. And I don't know if I ever mentioned it in other videos, but I like to keep them planted close together and small for this decorative flint corn. These go crazy because I would like to make wreaths like this primarily, which this is my wreath from last year, that despite keeping it covered, the colors have faded so much. These were like Jelly Belly, these two, and it's still very pretty, but I'm sad at how much they faded in a year, so I realize I'm just gonna have to keep making new ones every year. But I'd love to sell some at the farmer's market, so that's the plan for these. So I don't necessarily want them to be huge because these were some of the biggest. Let's see, this one and this one were some of the bigger small ones, and they're almost too big for this. I really like the look of the super tiny little guys, and the ones that we've gotten so far are little guys. Very bright red one. So those are from Tiny. I'll show you where we pulled those from, and then those are what's left of our little onions. As for squash and watermelon, watermelons are doing great everywhere. Most of them have one on. Squash, I will be harvesting this today. Yeah, he's barely pierceable with my finger, and that's a really good indicator. Fingernail, not with my finger. If I could just pierce him with my finger, that'd be sketchy. Wow, there's some serious cobs going on there. I love the squash blossoms like every day. Here is a melon that these guys were really struggling. The temps yesterday were 105 just out of nowhere. So I think that could be a red Malabar spinach down there. Can you see it right there? There's also a couple tree seedlings. They're so hard to weed these beds. But that little watermelon was really struggling in the heat. This is his branch he's on. So he may dry out and be ready before too long because of that. I came out and we weren't expecting 105. We were expecting like 101. I peeked out the window and saw everything was very looking like it might not recover if it didn't get watered. So I came out yesterday in the hottest part of the day and watered just a little and then watered again in the evening. So luckily there's not very many bees out in the hottest part of the day because it's so hot. Even the bees are like putting in some beans going down there. But all the watermelons are doing pretty good, and most of the squash is doing pretty good. This little watermelon's crowding this squash over. It's getting pretty big. This is the bed that I accidentally broke the watermelon off the vine last week. And this one has corn very close together. This corn is the most pouty. I'll put a little bit of a picture of it from last night and how it bends in on itself to kind of protect from getting too much sun. And it will stay that way till like the morning right before I come out. And it looks like it might not recover. We have been fertilizing these really well. I think the thing is we just need, next year we'll do another solid layer of compost. But then again, I don't want to get these too fertile and make the corn too big. But if it gets healthier and gets bigger, I can use the planting it close together to keep it smaller, and I can also find new ways to use the bigger corn. Let's see, the ones that we've pulled off of are these ones that are already dead, and I figured that since they're so low, watering on them eventually was going to cause them to rot or something negative. So oh, there's a tiny little watermelon down there that I've never seen. There's another spaghetti squash that's just about ready to harvest. I love these amaranth. They're so pretty. I really want to try and use the grains this year, but even if we don't, the birds love them and then the birds spread them everywhere. So these are all volunteers that have come up in these beds. This little butternut's still trying to hang in there, just barely. And the double planted watermelon and squash are both looking pretty good. Here's the little peanut watermelon. I don't think he's going to grow too much bigger, so he might be starting to get ready. What we're looking for is the tendril right next to him to completely dry out, and that's pretty close. So we're going to have several small watermelons at the start of the season, and then as the plants get bigger, they should start to make larger watermelons. That's what's happened in the past anyway. We've gotten a few that were what we would call grocery store size. Here's a little moon and stars that's a little bit bigger than a personal sized, and those do seem to do really well here. We're having aphid infestation on some of the corn in this bed, especially that one over there. See the ants and the aphids on it. I'll take you on the other side, but right now I'm going to show you this little pumpkin that's orange down there. Probably need to harvest him soon because he's kind of sitting in the mud too. This Moon and Stars watermelon I've probably talked about, but has the Moon and Stars pattern pattern on the leaf and on the melon. Now rub that guy off. Almost made him look like a cantaloupe. Yeah, like where it's got that kind of stitching. I think this This melon is not growing anymore, I don't think, but I'm going to give it a day or two. And I'll pull it so the plant can focus on other things. There's a little bee down in there. I still don't know what a lot of these squash are. I think they're pumpkins. There's a little baby right there. I think that's from the orange pumpkin. I think that's a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. Just kind of makes a standard carver pumpkin. This guy really suffered from the heat, so he was already, his leaves were yellowing and unhappy from another heat wave. And then this little end piece just couldn't take it. But this is another arm of him that's growing really strong and green, so it'll keep finding its own way. Sunflower's about to bloom, and amaranth. These backweeds have a lot of weeds, especially grass-like weeds, which are really pernicious, yeah, and hard to control. These beds are particularly hard to weed. There's some purslane in that one. I want to put amaranth in each one next year because I really like how it kind of looks like almost like a bouquet in each bed. I don't think any of these still have fruit. I mention it every time, but these are the least amended and that least like soil worked on, like where we haven't been watering it regularly and increased the biome in it. But there is another spaghetti squash there. We have so much spaghetti squash. The amaranth. Some of these melons and stuff in these beds have just been really small forever, but they don't look like they're unhealthy. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the Waffle Gardens, or the Three Sisters beds this year. Trees are still making a nice little comeback. This guy especially. We completely defoliated before. We're just watering really well. Trying to break off the broken parts, both just for aesthetics and to give the tree a break from those. Tomato here doing pretty good. This is the mystery tomato from my little gardening group. Looks like a cherry with the multiflora heads, but it also has that funny shape. So it's reminding me of like a Brad's Atomic Grape. That's the only cherry I've really seen that shape with before. We'll see as they get bigger. Sweet potatoes were really unhappy yesterday in the high heat. Some of them got a little sunburnt, but overall the plant's looking really good. Okay, something dug in here. Could be a coyote, could be a cat, could be our gopher. I don't know why he didn't take the plant if he dug. There's been bees in all of these, and I'm not sure. I think it might be where bees are coming to die. Because the other day, there was like 5 in there. And I mean, they do pass away in flowers, but like in packs. There's one in like all of them. It makes me wish that we had more. Get away from him, ant. Go away. Makes me wish, sorry, bee. Makes me wish that, oh, he's alive. He's waking up. Sorry, that ant was going to crawl on you and I didn't want to mess with you. Makes me really think we need more of these for places for the bees to be. Guys are still trying to pop out an occasional head here and there. Along the, we've made put a little more interesting spin down here. I added portulaca and I'm going to try and have it spread all the way across. I'm going to try and propagate it and or add more if I need to. Got a couple sunflowers that are getting close to heading up, but there's the portulaca. I'll show you pictures of it when it's bloomed. It's supposed to self-deadhead, but I'm gonna pop a couple off so it'll bloom. Maybe in the afternoon I'll come back and show you what has bloomed. Hopefully it self-seeds and or spreads all over. There's some hollyhocks, speaking of spreading all over. These are infested with ants, as you can tell. They live under the leaves, and they are farming aphids up there. I'm kind of torn because I'd rather have them there than on my vegetables. But at the same time, I'd like to keep the populations down, so I spray them off whenever I can just to kind of set them back. And then they reset and come right back up. So it's kind of a never ending battle, but it's worth it. Okay, so maybe I'll come back out and see a lot of these guys blooming. They're not open in the morning anyway. There's another little sunflower. There's a few that are thinking about it. A lot of bending over for this early in the video without showing you anything exciting. So many hollyhocks. And I love the variegated amaranth. It's weird because I shot all this yesterday, so it feels like I'm being really repetitive, so I'm not probably as excitedly telling you about things as I normally would be. Okay, we'll go in here. My son, we found some little fun, like dollar store trinkets that we had, and I had him just go stick them in the garden for me to find. The battle with the gopher continues. He took that zucchini plant yesterday or the day before. Zucchini plant had one zucchini. We left it in the sun a day in that hot sun, and this is what happened. That's how hot that sun was. Just fried right through it. Should probably leave this for him as an offering to leave other stuff alone. But he doesn't seem interested. He left that alone and just ate the roots. Sometimes he takes the whole plant and eats it. Sometimes he just eats the roots. My son put a trap where that was removed. We have yet to find, like digging around, find the actual tunnel system. And I think that there's a chance, I still haven't looked it up, but I was theorizing last night that perhaps because it's so hot here and dry, they may have their tunnels a little bit lower underground than gophers would other places. Again, not sure about that. That's just a theory, but we still have the mashed potato, baked potato, and a couple others that are about to fruit. Looks like this is a gray zucchini, and this one is not going to be good. It looks like an okra. Looks like the shape of an okra, not a zucchini. That over there too. Let's see. Yeah, and then I don't know. Haven't seen any more squash bugs since the last time. I hate to even bring them up because I don't want to bring them about. We need a weed in here. Let's see. Oh, there's another baked potato or squash. So I did plant a few of those because I wanted some more. There's a little hollyhock there, and then these guys are planted too closely because he took all these ones, so I'm leaving like a weird volunteer one there. This is the other sad part of our garden. This is where he took 8 out of our 10 cherry tomato plants. These two big green ones are ones I planted from seed. They were the least far along. They were the least healthy in this bed. That bed was much healthier, and he took all of those. So, and then 3 peppers from there and multiple squash. That's why we're actually trapping him in kill traps, because it's just gotten worse and worse. I really didn't want that to happen, but that's where we're at. There's a little pepper that made a comeback. And then these that are filling in the gaps are 50% off from our local nursery. Really sick tomatoes, especially these guys. I'm going to break off most of this guy's little branches because they're dead. He has a little bit of green growth at the top. This is after we've treated them, I think, 4 times in the week we've had them. We're trying to do what we can to revive them. But I had to put something back here, and I figured that at the very least it might give the gopher something else to eat rather than go out of the garden. He ventured out of the garden once when we had a friend lent me those little spikes you put in the ground that emit a buzzing noise, and we put them throughout the garden. We put one in here, and then throughout the garden, because we didn't want him to just leave here and go out to the garden, he came out and got this tomato plant right here that's underneath the amaranth. There's just a little stump of now, and then took some branches off my shishito pepper, which was a bummer. It was doing really well over there. And the shishito pepper was right next to the spike. Oh, you can, the spike's still in there. It's not working anymore because we have the shade cloth. But so I'm gonna bring them back to my friend. I was really bummed. I tried. We put the cat litter box out there. We put cat hair in it. I tried to give him foods that he would like better. He didn't touch them. So just everybody kept telling me I was gonna need to kill him, and I kept being in denial because I really love animals and I really didn't want to do that. But that's where we are. These tomatoes are all starting to flower. This little guy, I don't know. These are all pretty sickly ones I got as replacements from friends, or little tiny ones that I planted grew up from seed, but I started a little late. And in the super hot sun, they were all kind of struggling. And now that the shade cloth's up, they're doing a lot better. Here is, I don't know, are you aroma? Oh, blush tiger. Okay, yeah, that's one I've never grown, but I've seen has it's almost like a cherry, a little bit bigger than a cherry. That makes sense. I do remember it having that. But the ones under here have gotten a lot bigger. Kim started to Florida weave them, but I think the string that was supposed to be strong, and I read a lot of reviews on Amazon, actually was not strong as Dollar Tree jute twine. So the jute twine is actually done better. So we're gonna have to just restring that up and get them standing tall. However, we need to find a solution for this shade cloth. We don't have a ton of solid anchor points for it. We need to maybe find something to connect. There's a few things available to connect to this and then pull it out to the sides to make it a little more taut. We'll climb under here to look at peppers. Ouch. These are Hungarian wax peppers. These are doing very well. I grew a lot of these from seed before I knew if I could get chilenos, which are these very different peppers. I read a bunch that they were the same. They're not the same. Chilenos are very specific, thin-walled, kind of wrinkly. They're so good. And we gave a bunch to the garden club manager, master gardener. I'm going to pop this guy out of here. Amaranth is pretty, but I think it's stunting this little pepper's growth. All these other guys have little jalapenos. That, I guess they could both be jalapenos. That could be some, huh? They're a little bit differently shaped, but I think they're jalapenos. And then we have our first little eggplant right here. I'll put the name on the screen of this one because I don't remember it. It was like a gift, a free seed from somewhere. And then all these pretty flowers. I don't see an eggplant on this one yet. There's a little pepper down there that I think died from that lack of water the other day in the high heat. There are some bush beans here. I planted the whole thing, but only a few came up. It's hard to water all the way back here. We have tomatillos here. This one, I don't know, he's like mostly broken, but he's still growing. I don't know what to do with him. I'm just leaving him. I'm not counting on the tomatillos doing amazingly this year. This is my modified Three Sisters. So this is sweet corn. Bush beans, so they don't have to climb because the sweet corn can't tolerate the weight of the beans. And then cucumbers I just threw in because I didn't have a place to put them. I replanted a few that didn't come up in the corners, and they're coming up now. But they took a hit yesterday in the heat, so they're looking a little worse for wear, but these are by far the healthiest cucumbers I've ever grown. Cucumbers are not a fan of my gardens, typically. This guy's gonna trellis up here if we can convince him to. There was what I think was a bait alpha cucumber on here the other day. Maybe it didn't got. Oh my gosh, it's morning. I'm not quite awake. Maybe he didn't get pollinated and fell off, but because he was just a tiny guy. Oh, there's a little cucumber down there. Oh, that might be the one. That's, I think, the bait alpha. I'm going to harvest it actually and eat it today, I think. Because I'm thinking that's about the size you want them to get. Maybe a little bigger, but these are supposed to be very not susceptible to the bitterness that a lot of cucumbers get. Well, that made me a little bit dizzy, guys. Whew, okay. This is the same thing in this bed, but doing a lot worse. I don't know. It'd be really interesting if we got some sweet corn from this. It feels like it might be filled out. Okay, so back at it. This was where our onions were growing in a little aquifer situation, and we had arugula and purslane kind of take over. I thought the purslane might make a solid ground cover. That's the cheese pack from our garden club party. Got blown away, it looks like. Grab it. We had a really good blueberry goat cheese and a brie and sharp cheddar. But anyway, so we let the purslane kind of take over because I thought it would be a ground cover, but I think it kind of kept the onions small, which is why we have a lot of small onions. And then we also have a ton of volunteer arugula here. There's a container under there somewhere that started of arugula, and the arugula has continued to spread out. And we have let it because the bees love it. As you can see, there's so many. There's a cat pox that we had out here because of the gopher. But we need to just clean it out and take it back in. This thing is just swarming with bees. This is why I can't water in the morning. There's probably, I don't know if you could see them, but there's probably 50 or more on these guys. They're just everywhere. Anyway, voluntary amaranth here. Voluntary amaranth that tried to die there. Some okra that I planted here that have just really been struggling. I don't think they can get the amount of water they need. And I threw some red rat's tail radishes and a couple okra in this aquifer to see if they'd get a little more water and be happier there. So we'll see. They're not loving the super hot temperature with the red rat's tail radishes. It doesn't matter if they bolt because that's why you're growing them. So it was a fairly solid choice for that, I guess. And let me throw this trash over here. Okay, now we'll start on the trellises here. So this is our little trellised walkway. Tried to alternate what we're growing on these every year just to mix it up and prevent, pest issues and disease issues. This year we're growing beans on this trellis, and the ones that are doing the best by far are the long beans, which is what I knew, but I didn't have enough long beans to exclusively grow them, or else I probably would have tried to, because I know that traditional green beans do not do super well in this heat. There's a few long beans I left on for the garden party that are now long past needing to be harvested. I could keep these on a little bit longer and save them for seed. This seed, it is pretty squidgy. It could be viable now. I might try and save it, but I wouldn't be guaranteed. It's better to wait till they're really. I don't. You guys probably didn't catch me whacking that, but there's ants always on the flowers, especially of the long beans, and so I either spray or whack them off when I can. No, I'm not saying anything. It's been wild. The hummingbirds occasionally come to these little tiny flowers. I don't know if they're actually getting anything from them, or I just think they might. But the long beans actually have really beautiful flowers. I just haven't yet to catch one open. I think possibly because of all the ants farming aphid activity. I think they might be harming them a little bit. So this is a Cherokee Trail of Tears, which is so beautiful the way it wraps around multiple times. The one over there is really fairy tale too. So yeah, pretty flowers and pretty, really fairy tale looking vines. No production from them yet. I think in this high heat, I think they're, really just struggling to get by. The long beans are all mostly doing well. And underneath these, I have started red Malabar spinach, and this one is growing the biggest so far. He was planted earliest, and these are to take over when the beans can't take the heat anymore. So hopefully they're not taking nutrients or water too much from the beans, but I know the beans are good and crap out. Like this from yesterday, we have a few just complete misses. This, I was excited to see these circular green beans on the last time this one made them. They never grew any bigger though, so I think that it may be a issue with that they're not the healthiest, and that's why they're circular. Because now there's circular ones everywhere. But I'm gonna leave them a little bit longer this time and see if they'll grow. There's a big old huge. This one I can definitely save for seed. It gets so weird when they're fully matured. The one that has the casualty leaves was doing pretty well in the sun, and that's a sunset runner bean. We do have several of those growing in here in the waffle garden, so hopefully we'll at least get to try some because I don't think I've ever had one before. And yeah, that's about the end of that. I hope all of these could have stood to be in a little bit early because we get hot here so fast that then things get stunted. But hopefully, as we get past the worst of the heat, we will be able to actually have these climb all the way over the trellises. So these are melons and cucumbers in this bed. This is a little Boston pickling cucumber that we've harvested several off. A little Sharon Taste or Sharon Taste melon. Babies. And then we have an Armenian yard-long cucumber, and I don't know what the third. Oh, and a watermelon. Oh, yeah, I think it's a Silver Yamato watermelon. We followed this in our shorts as the little journey of this watermelon. And I'll link that below. It was like really cute. When I just happened to notice him when he was still a baby with a flower attached, and did a short about him. And then the next time I went, oh, he actually got fertilized, and now he's here. And then he got stuck in the fence, so he has some little dents on him there, scars. And here's a volunteer arugula here and here I didn't mention before, that I'm just kind of letting do their thing for the bees. This Armenian yard-long cucumber, they can get bigger than this, but this is about as wide. They can get longer than this. This is about as wide as you want to let them get. So I definitely should have harvested him a little while ago, but I left him on for the garden tour. So, or the garden club, I keep calling it a garden tour, but I toured them around the garden and showed them things. And a lot of them are newer gardeners, so it's really fun to show them things. That's a little volunteer millet, and I'm gonna grow it on until it's big enough to harvest for seed. I saved some from another one in one of these waffle garden beds that I found. And here's another melon and no, just melon bed. Kajari melons here. I think because they're already growing melons and because of the heat, they haven't grown up as much as I'd like them to. Hopefully they will start too soon, especially once I take these melons off. There's a cantaloupe there. And cantaloupes are slip melons, so he'll fall off when he's ready. I think this is a sugar baby watermelon here. And then there's more baby Kajaris down here. Oh. I think even actually because of the super high heat, there's a little ladybug. Hi, little ladybug. Lay some eggs and get your young to eat all my aphids. Okay. This side had two, and it's growing back. I don't know if it's from self-seeding or it's like from the roots being like, we're coming back and we're gonna make this happen. Volunteer arugulas here, two huge ones. And I didn't realize how much they were keeping these plants back because I kept telling myself that those were planted a tiny bit earlier. And also there's a spaghetti squash there, and those are really crazy here. But then when I pulled those out, these guys were so mashed under there and have since started just really doing their thing. So really taught me a lesson about spacing and not allowing volunteers to grow too close to things I care about. I don't know what these are yet. I think one is a Lakota squash. Oh yeah, that's the one I think is a Lakota squash by that shape. Those are really pretty squash. I hope I get some of those. And then I'm not sure on here. Keep you posted. TBD. This is our spaghetti squash. Mostly climbing this trellis. I have a couple big ones on. They're totally different from the other spaghetti squash. I've had that every year where I have a few spaghetti squash that start out this light yellow and only get a little bit darker. And then spaghetti squash that start out either dark green or a yellower color from the get and then get really yellow. So I think it's just slightly different variants in the seed, but this one's like definitely grocery store size, so that's fun. We're gonna have lots of spaghetti squash. I don't know what all the other squash in here are. I put 4 along a trellis. I think next year I'm definitely gonna do 3, but I do know that because I want to make sure something grows. I do know that this is a butterscotch and that this is a Jack B. Little, which is really getting shaded out. And well, I guess it can't be too shaded out, but crowded out. And he's growing up the trellis a little bit that way. He'll find his way. I would like to get him a bit unmeshed with this crazy spaghetti squash so he can thrive on his own. But sometimes the big plants just take over, and that's what I want, something to climb the trellis all the way. But I haven't seen any more squash bugs. I'm really hoping I don't. And then on this side, this is another Jack B. Little, also getting shaded out already. I don't know what this guy is. Maybe now that, oh, hi B. Oh, here. I don't know what that, it could be some little pumpkin guy. What are you? There's a weird little moth in here that I hope is just minding his business and not laying eggs of something harmful. Hi. Are you a squash vine borer? I hope not. You didn't look like one. And then, yeah, I don't see any babies on it aside from that one. And that just looked vaguely pumpkin-like. This I'm pretty sure is some kind of gourd. My favorite plant in the garden because I love the way these look. And this here is a Chinese melon. Doing pretty good in the heat. And a volunteer butternut here. With several on. It's just rambling up to this guy. That's our furthest along guy. And yeah. So that's the garden, August 12th, I believe. Hope your gardens are doing great. I'm glad we're finally getting things to harvest and fun things to show. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. It's always fun showing you around the garden.
Like and subscribe.